Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely Wednesday evening. So today I wanted to catch up with you all on a couple of things. This is not a scripted video. I mean, all my videos are not scripted videos, but this one less so than most. I'm just going to be free-flowing it. So on the live channel recently, I did a video on something that New York City had done recently, which is they sent out a letter to many business owners saying that the absolute TLDR of this is that they took a loan from the federal government to cover the unemployment cost 2 years ago. Because apparently, when you destroy your entire economy, there are consequences to that. So because of our dictator of a governor trying to say what is essential and not essential. And the issue there is that they took a loan from the federal government to cover unemployment costs, and now they have to pay that back with interest. The problem is that apparently in our $90 billion plus budget, there's no money for that. So what they're doing is they're adding a fee to employers who, like myself, who were dumb enough to do business in New York. And one of the interesting things with this, as I mentioned in there, is that even if you did not have any employees laid off, fired, or unemployed during that time, or collecting unemployment, even if you kept 100% of your employees prior to any sort of stimulus or aid coming out, you still have to pay this lovely fee. And it was just one of many things. And in that video, I had talked about how I had finalized the move of my business, not just myself personally, out of New York, and I had mentioned an employer. And I didn't really go into depth or detail since I did not have a lot of time. And this left a lot of people with a lot of questions that I hope to answer in this detailed main channel video. And if there are further questions, you're welcome to post them down below so that I can answer them. One clarification to make here is that the last straw that finally caused me to get a kick in the ass to really start looking for other areas to move my business to pronto was not New York State's issue with unemployment, where they are charging businesses that were dumb enough to stay for the interest on the money they borrowed in 2020. It's a separate issue entirely, and it's not one that I can really describe in full right now. I've alluded to it every now and then on stream in the live channel. It's not something that I can discuss in full with details right now, but it is something that I will be able to discuss in full with details once it is all done, and I'm hoping over the next 6 to 18 months for that issue to come to a close. So the first question is, what do you mean employer? I thought you ran your own business. Yes, I do run my own business, and I have for over a decade. And prior to this, I have not had a traditional employer since I worked at Avatar Studios in 2008. Before that was, I think, working at Good Temps as for Lowe's home delivery service, typing in addresses so for people who were buying stoves, dryers, and refrigerators from Lowe's in Staten Island. This is a job. So what is the job that I took? It is a director of community outreach at FUTO. What is FUTO? As I've mentioned several times, 2 years ago, I got a call from somebody saying, what is the kind of thing that you would do if you had $1 million with right to repair? And I get so many prank phone calls because I have my business information all public. Essentially, my channel was doxxed from the moment that I put it out in 2011 because my channel was my name and I had my business information in the URL. So I get a lot of prank calls. So I did what most people would probably do if they got 30 prank calls a day, and I said, yeah, right, click. I go back to doing my YouTube repair videos, and I go back to doing my live stream, and I get a $100 super chat. I forget exactly what it would say. It was something along the lines of like, not a prank, pick up the phone. And I'm like, oh. Needless to say, my stream wound up ending early that day, and I had a conversation with the gentleman that really pushed me to take my advocacy work more seriously and actually start a dedicated nonprofit rather than just, doing my little YouTube thing, running around the country, talking about right to repair in my armchair, putting together a proper organization that could properly fund lots of different groups that would do this type of work so that even if I were to keel over, drop dead, or just lose interest in it, the mission would still continue onwards. And he helped me through that process. He found an attorney and funded the attorney to help start that entire process. And then he donated, in the words of Trump, a small loan of $1 million. I'm not kidding. It's a grant. It was a grant of $1 million. And he pretty much had two strings attached, which is to continue doing the advocacy work that I was doing and to never sell out to Microsoft, Google, Apple, and so on and so forth. And those were two strings that I was more than happy to oblige him in. Something that I've been talking about on this channel is that over the past 1.5 to 2 years, you might have noticed that in many areas where right to repair used to lose, right to repair is winning. Let's say groups like As You Sow coming out with shareholder resolutions with Microsoft to support right to repair more, New York passing a law, Colorado passing a wheelchair right to repair law, this just getting more buzz in the media, more people understanding what it is, companies coming out that actually care about and value right to repair like Framework and everything else. this issue is starting to win where it didn't before. And, I'm not going to pat myself on the back and give myself credit for that. A lot of that kind of has to do with people that say, here's $1 million, have fun. And that has been really, really amazing. Now, he has wanted me to come check out what he's doing in Texas for the past 2 years. And admittedly, he did contact me around July or August of 2020. That was the summer of love. I just moved to a new space that wasn't really profitable at that point. COVID happened. There was riots. I was wondering, am I still going to have a business? I'll be honest, I wasn't in particularly the best mental state that year. I was very stressed out, and I just wasn't in the mindset to kind of just go across the country and check out what some other person is doing or help them with it. I visited this year, and I saw what they were doing. And again, this is a person that pretty much for the past 2 years has not once asked me how I use this money, who is really just hands off and said, here, just as long as you're fighting the tech oligopoly, you do you. And we spoke for several weeks on what his vision is, what it is that he's trying to do, and the resources that he wants to put to work to get this particular thing done. He wants to take on the tech oligopoly. He wants to help fund, whether through large investments or small no strings attached grants, different projects that would compete with or replace current services that people are stuck using, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Apple, and so on and so forth for. And it's pretty much, for lack of a better way to put it, an attempt to take back a little bit of control and a little bit of the freedom that's been taken away by many of these Silicon Valley companies over the years and give them an FU. Now, there was somebody that I was speaking to when I went to the Hope conference about this and talking back and forth. He's like, wait, I can't believe you took a job. And I was describing what the job was to a gentleman named Mitch Altman, who runs all these amazing hacker spaces all around the world. He's an amazing teacher. You got to check him out. He's a really, really cool dude. It was a pleasure and honor to meet him in person. He invited me to speak there. And as I was describing this particular job, he said, that's not really a job. That's a public service. Because the guy was wondering, how could you possibly take a job? And that's kind of the way that I feel about it. If there's nothing else that I think I could have been doing for the past 15 years of my life to prepare me for this particular position, to help this particular individual accomplish his goal, than what I've been doing for the past 15 years. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, this channel is not popular because of board repair. It's not popular because of Mr. Clinton. Okay, maybe Mr. Clinton. It's not popular because of bike videos. It's not popular because of real estate. It's popular over the concept of giving bullies the middle finger. And the opportunity to give bullies the middle finger, utilizing the resources of somebody that has about 4 or 5 more zeros on their bank account than I do, is a really, really cool opportunity that I could not possibly pass up under any circumstance. And the opportunity to be a liaison, to get grants to these really cool projects, to try and from the ground up kind of wrangle control back away from Silicon Valley in a really targeted way is an amazing opportunity. I believe in the guy's vision. I do not work for other people. I am nobody's bitch, but this is an awesome vision, and I want to be a part of that. Now there's a bunch of questions that come with this. Well, I thought you moved to New Hampshire. This is Texas. True, I did not move my business. I moved myself to New Hampshire. I did not buy a house. I rented an apartment to see how I'd like the state. It's a beautiful state, a lot of amazing lakes, a lot of amazing mountains, beautiful scenery. Not so much on the nightlife or stuff for young single people to do. I wasn't single when I moved there, and also not a place that I think I can convince my staff to move to. But above all, when it comes to opportunities like this opportunity that I'm talking about is in Texas, not New Hampshire. New Hampshire's a beautiful place, but that's not going to be where it's a great place to vacation to, and there's a lot of nice people there. But it's just not where I see myself living. I gave it a try. It's a beautiful state, but I'm going to be settling myself in Texas. Next up, what happens to my business? My business, Rossmann Repair Group, is still 100% owned by me. It still will be 100% owned by me when I close out the old one and open up a new one in Texas. It's 100. Again, I will retain control over that business, and I will retain control over the nonprofits that I have started up. Nothing is going to change there. A bunch of questions people have. Well, Lewis, you used to say that you stayed in New York City because you did not want to lose your employees, some of which are not able to move. I'm not exactly happy that I am going to be losing certain employees that are not able to move. New York has become a very untenable place to do business. I've done many videos on this channel where you can see me talking about things like the cities wanting $500,000 to $15,000 in a fine because I cannot prove that I did not buy a laptop that I did not buy, that it was recycled, and stupid crap like that. There are times where my insurance has gone up by $5,000 or $10,000, random stupid fines from the city, lots of stuff like that. And recently, I talked about this a little bit last August and September. A process started with the city, and we've been going back and forth, and they finally asked for an amount of money that really knocked it out at me, and it's like, oh shit. If you don't get out of here, there really is a good chance that a city bureaucrat or a state bureaucrat doing something stupid will try to take you for everything you have. And while I love my staff, I appreciate the work that they've put in over the years, and I recognize that my business would not be where it is without them. I cannot deal with the pit of anxiety in my stomach, that ulcer that's there, knowing I'm in a place that kind of needs as much money as humanly possible that will use me as a piñata. And I'm convinced now that they will use me as a piñata into the future. Let's face it, I was never exactly politically compatible with New York City when things like COVID shutdowns happen, or riots happen, or Kyle Rittenhouse gets acquitted and stuff like that. I just don't have the opinions of a lot of my neighbors. I was never exactly compatible with this place. I never exactly liked it that much to begin with. So this was something that everybody kind of knew was coming at some point, but something happened recently that I'm not going to go into detail about until it's over, that really just kind of kicked me in the ass and made me realize, you got to get out of here. At the same time that happened, I get asked to check out this place, and I get given an opportunity to help somebody invest in the companies and the technologies and the things, even if they wind up not making this dude a dime, that will simply take control away from Silicon Valley companies and put it back in the hands of the users the way it used to be when computing was older, back in the old days, while not losing out on any of the benefits of modern technology. I want to see that dude's mission succeed. And I think these two things, honestly, there's this one, my ex-receptionist, Veneer, her saying on her, everybody can put like some profile or something in their instant messenger. On her Skype, it was something along the lines of, everything in life happens for a reason. And I'm kind of thinking that the things that I had to deal with over the past few months with the state and the city, and getting asked to check out everything that this guy's doing after 2 years and me finally coming out to do it, happened at this time for a reason, and I'm excited to see what happens. So the people that will be moving with me will be moving with me. We're working out arrangements with each person, moving accommodations, some people raises, some people some money to help with their move, some people other things. For the people that are not able to move, I am giving them as much notice as humanly possible. There are a lot of complaints in r/anti work from people saying, listen, why do I have to give notice when I'm quitting, but my boss can just let me go at any given time? Point taken, true. Again, the reason, like, if I catch somebody stealing, I can't trust them into the future, so I can't really give them notice because God knows what they're going to do after or something like that. But I understand where the salt is coming from. Very true. So I'm giving the people that are not able to move as much notice as is humanly possible. I'm encouraging them to do board repair videos on the YouTube channel so that they can use that as their resume. I want them to be able to point to the fact that we have the most 5-star reviews on Google Maps of any MacBook component level repair shop in the country. That's just a fact. I'm not even, not ego. They earned that. They did that work. I want them to point to that and be able to have a little playlist that says, this is the work that I've done. This is the quality work that I've done. I will walk into neighboring stores with you and ask these places, do you do this type of repair? This repair, we can charge $300. The parts cost us $5. It takes him 20 minutes to do it. If you don't do it, why not? You should hire this dude and pay him properly because he'll be able to make you that money. I want to give them as many opportunities as humanly possible, whether it's, again, being able to show up on this channel, being able to use that as a resume for themselves for other repair businesses, so that when they walk into those other repair businesses, those places know that they are getting the best of the best for the people who are not able to move. And I do want to give them as much notice as is humanly possible so that they are able to acclimate themselves to a new job or have that time available to be able to start their own businesses. And I'm happy to give them advice along the way based on what they should do, what they shouldn't do, based on all the stupid shit that I did when I was starting a repair business and all the mistakes that I made. Again, in an ideal world, 1 year from now, the people that were not able to move will all be massively richer than I am, or could ever be, as a result of their businesses being more successful than mine, or getting jobs that pay way better than I could afford to pay myself, much less pay them. I want the best for everybody who's ever been here. Next thing when it comes to employees is that even if I wasn't moving, some people were going to have to be phased out, and I think it's better that I do it now rather than later. there are lots of different services that we do here, and lots of people have moved on from the lower level services to the higher level services. And I do have some people that have never expressed a desire, an inclination, or the ability over the past 6 to 7 years to start moving on to some of the higher level services. They've kind of only stayed doing stuff like basic screen repair. And for those people, unfortunately, I'm not going to have a job for them at some point, even if I stay in New York City. I used to be able to buy stuff like an LP154WT1 or an LP133WP1TJA back in 2013, 14, and 15 for as low as 70 to 90 bucks, which made doing screen repairs on those particular laptops something that's actually profitable, even if it's a pain in the ass because it's a glued-in screen. And again, you never know if the screens you're getting are good, but that's another topic altogether. But now, with many of those parts for the newer machines going for $300, $400, $500, $600, the profit margin for those particular services has gone down to the point where I don't need a team of people that just know how to do that. Those jobs were going to be going away, and they were going to be going away rather fast. So rather than tell them at some point randomly, hey, I'm not going to have anything to pay you within 2 weeks, if I can tell them with a 4 or 5 month buffer that your job is going to be going away, this allows those particular employees that even if I was staying in New York City, I would have to eventually let go of. It allows them to have a nice buffer of time to be able to find another job, make alternate arrangements, start learning a new skill or anything else, rather than it just being in a week you're out of here kind of situation. So right now we have 5 people that I've asked to come with, that have agreed to come with, and the other 7 were people that are either not able to move or were in that group of people that do work that, again, due to the economics of the business and the lack of parts availability due to douchebag Apple, would have not existed anyway. Moving on. So one other question has been, what happens to the cats? Lou, I don't understand most of you people who ask that question. I really don't. Like, when you move, what do? You just take your cat and you put it in a fucking chipper shredder? What's wrong with you? Like, seriously. Like, no, you take the cat with you. Oh my God. You really think that if my cat just can't cross state lines? Like, I'm just going to take Mr. Clinton and toss him into a garbage disposal? What? No, of course my cat comes with me. My cat will come with me the moment that I know where I'm going, that I have a place that is mine, that is settled. My cat will come with me, as will my Vandersteen speakers, and we'll see what my neighbors think of that. In terms of other questions, Lewis, are you going to do repair workshops? Well, that's another thing that I'd like to do as part of what we're doing here at FUTO, is we'd like to actually try and mentor people in the community and have a space to be able to do that. It's probably going to take 6 or 7 months to actually get a space where we can do that that's dedicated to this particular task. In the meantime, we are going to try our best to find a space that we can use to be able to do the types of repair workshops that I used to do at the store. So at the store, I used to have 2 hours every couple of weeks where people could come in. They could bring anything they had, whether it was a CB radio, a MacBook board, a mouse button. And listen, I can't guarantee that we'll be able to fix it, but I'd like you to be able to work on professional levels microscopes, professional level soldering equipment, professional level hot air stations with a professional level repair person to be able to get some guidance on your project so that you could learn what it is you're doing wrong. If you're messing up something while you're soldering, we can help you out with that. If you're messing something up when you're trying to reball somewhere, that you would be able to practice on our equipment. This is something that would have helped me out massively in the beginning, was being able to just engage with people in a community that weren't trying to hoard or hide information on equipment that I couldn't afford at the time. And I want to be able to have this be something that is open full time. And this is something that I'm very excited about, because this is not something that I can do financially right now. I can't just run an 8 or 10 hour workshop out of my store. I need to use that place to make money while it's there, because it costs a lot of money per month to do that. But again, when you're dealing with somebody that has a fair amount of capital, whose goal is actually to help the community and give back to the community because they've made so much money through their success, rather than just try to squeeze every little bit of profit out of something, we can actually run something like this and have it be free to the community all day long, and not have to collect membership dues or anything like that for the time being. And I'm very excited to be able to do that. So I would like to be able to do repair workshops while I'm here. We're actually going to be doing that on a regular basis. That's something I'm going to be excited to announce. This is not really a question, but rather a comment I get from time to time, which is, Lewis, I like what you've done. I've supported your work over the past 5 years. I love that you teach people how to fix stuff for free and all that, and get people involved in fixing electronics and try to make us live in a more repairable world. But you're moving to a state that I don't like, so now I'm unsubscribing and I'll never watch your stuff. I'd support you again. And there's two things I have to say to that. The first is this is an opportunity to really organize the process or streamline the process of investing in companies that trying to give control back to the user, trying to get rid of exploitative business models that track you, stalk you, advertise to you at every which turn, that are trying to actually give grants to all these different open source projects that give control back to the user of what they own, whether it's their phone, their computer, or anything else. And also to be able to set up a makerspace or a hackerspace or a repair workshop where anybody, regardless of their race, sex, sexual orientation, creed, religion, anything else, can come in without paying any money and be able to learn in a professional environment how to solder, how to do some basic repairs. They can use microscopes and soldering stations and anything else we're going to make available for free. If you're mad at all of that simply because I am choosing to do it in this particular state, you probably never cared that much about what I was trying to do or my mission to begin with, and you honestly probably should have subscribed 6 or 8 years ago. If all the potential good that we are going to be able to do is outweighed by the fact that it's being done in a place you don't like, unsubscribe, man. You probably shouldn't have been here to begin with, and I'm honestly kind of ashamed to have had you as a subscriber to begin with. Secondly, as I said, I would have taken this opportunity even if New York State and City were a place that had treated me lovely over the past 10 years, because there's an opportunity to do a lot of good here. But that's not exactly the case. New York State and New York City have pretty much at every single turn, every chance they get, nickel and dimed me in some way. And again, the last thing that they've done, I cannot discuss in full detail, and that kills me inside. But I assure you, if you had gone through what I've gone through in the past 10 months, you would have been out of here a long effing time ago. I have been their whipping boy for a very long time, and at some point, that kind of ends. Now, again, this is a different state. Different city, again, every place in the U.S., every place in the world has their own problems, and I'm sure that Texas has its own problems. I'm confident that they do. But I'm open to a new set of problems from the ones that I have right now. A different flavor would be nice. I'm used to New York City and New York State's flavor, and I'm just tired of it. And if you had gone through it, you most likely would be too. Another question people come up with is, why don't you open a store in Texas and then keep your New York store? Excellent question. The reason that I don't do that is my New York store, because I hired a lot more people, and also because I moved to a space that cost about 3 times as much as my old store because business was going up and up and up right before COVID, is that place does not really make money. And again, the business has enough money that I could run it at a loss while paying everybody's salary for the next 10 years and still be fine. The thing is, if I take my business and I take my mail-in business and I move that to Texas, and I take the online store and I move that to Texas, and I move everything else that I'm doing to Texas, and I just keep walking business at that location, then it will go from a business that loses a couple of $1,000s every now and then to a business that is just hemorrhaging money and completely failing. If I were to give the remaining employees, if I just said, here, you can use this place as a store, I wouldn't be handing them the keys to a profitable business. I'd be handing them the keys to the Titanic right as it sinks and is leaving, which is really kind of, in my opinion, a shitty thing to do, and it's not something that I have any interest in doing. Further, I do not have any interest in running a business in New York City or New York State, just given the sheer amount of times that I've been treated like shit by that place over the past 5 to 10 years. So I'm going to be ripping the Band-Aid off. I'm going to be ripping the Band-Aid all the way off, and again, taking my business, my kitties, and everything out of that particular state. What else do we have here? Yeah, so in the live channel, I honestly probably shouldn't comment on this because admittedly, these stupid comments do count as revenue. Eli, the computer guy, has always told me, he's been my mentor for YouTube, and he essentially says, never interrupt stupid YouTube comments, because comments, they have to view the video to leave a comment, and then when they are arguing with each other, they have to view the video again in order to leave a new comment, which is essentially more engagement and more money for you. But I just feel like this is interesting to point out. A lot of people have said, don't, just make sure that you leave your shitty voting for AOC, de Blasio, and Cuomo policies at the door when you come to Texas. And I kind of, to watch this channel over the past 5 years and think that I voted for AOC, de Blasio, and Cuomo. You guys are fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. I'll leave some links down below for the people who were not paying attention when I was campaigning for Cuomo's challenger in 2018 with a banner on the bottom of my videos, or any of the other. Needless to say, Cuomo is not exactly... let's just say I wasn't even bothering trying to get a right to repair bill pushed in New York State while Cuomo was the governor, because my name was somewhat attached to that. But yeah, I wasn't I registered to vote in 2006. There's not a single candidate in New York City or New York State that has ever won that I voted for. Just throwing that out there. But that's about that. So, if there are any other questions, I will answer them in a follow-up video. I have got a lot of work to do. I'm putting together a list of all the things, just a preliminary to be able to do repair workshops here, and I'm also looking for a temporary space to be used in the meantime until a more permanent space becomes available. They'd like to purchase a building to be able to utilize for all of their operations here and put a makerspace or a hackerspace or all these little repair workshops that I want to do in that building, but I don't feel like waiting. I kind of want to get started immediately, and we're looking into ways that we can get that done. And we're also reaching, again, there are certain projects that I've been reaching out to. There are people that I met when I went to the Hope Conference that I spoke to about their projects. One I actually have a meeting with tomorrow about some grant funding too. This is going to be fun. I'll just be honest with you. I'm incredibly excited. Again, what I think this channel has been a lightning rod for over the past 10 years. Again, I could be wrong here. I don't think it's about the board repair. I don't think it's the real estate. I don't think it's the cats. I think what this channel represents is in some way, shape, or form a fuck you to a world where, whether it's tyrannical companies or tyrannical governments, are seeking to consistently take away more freedom and take away more control from you, the user, or the citizen. And the opportunity to try and start giving that back to you by someone who has the amount of fuck you money to actually get some of that done, that's the opportunity of a lifetime to me. And I really do believe that the past 10 to 15 years of my life have been converging to this particular point for me to have this particular job. And I think that my mid to late 30s are going to be massively more kick-ass than my 20s and my early 30s. And I hope to have a lot of really cool stories to be able to tell along the way. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I might follow this up with a live stream because I imagine that a lot of the questions I'm going to get would probably be best answered live, but I just didn't want to leave you hanging. I've been putting off doing this video for a week and a half. I've had a lot of stuff going on over the past 2 weeks that I have had to deal with, and I just haven't had the time to put together a video, which is kind of why this video is so scattered and so everywhere. Usually I don't script my videos. I don't write anything down for them. But I honestly, I do actually pace back and forth in my apartment for about a half hour, and I talk it out before I do the video, so that when I do the video, it's just all in my head. And I haven't really even had the time to do that here, which is why it's just so scatterbrained. But I just felt bad for not really having any sort of update available for any of you. So that's that. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, I hope you learned something. Wish me luck on the next chapter of my life. I'm going to need it. And I hope to serve you all well. Bye now.